So, we had a poll on Instagram asking us, asking you guys, what are some of the subjects you guys want to talk about. One question that was submitted to us was to discuss the subject of interracial. What do we think about interracial dating? So I'm gonna let you go first. What do you think about interracial? Interracial dating. I want to hear
listen, man.
About it. What are the experiences? Let us
Okay.
know, man, what you think.
All right, man. Okay, so I'm gonna preface my experiences with just this. My background is I'm a third culture kid, so I've had the privilege, truth be told, of living in all different kinds of cultures. I grew up in an African household, so a lot of my evaluations and levels of beauty were obviously influenced by both what was going on in my house. I had a lot of beautiful black women raising me in my household, but at the same time, I was mostly raised in the West, and in the West, the standard of beauty is mostly white women, right? So there's that I just wanted to preface that because it's a very important aspect that goes into interracial dating. So from my standpoint, right, have I dated interracial? Yes, I've dated, truth be told, women of all races, to be honest. I taste the rainbow. So, but my experiences from it, when I've sat back as an older man, I've thought about it deeply, and I've been like, there's been certain patterns that sometimes creep me out, truth be told. One of them, and I think a lot of black men in America especially will understand this, is a lot of women that aren't black will make certain comments at times that will really highlight your blackness. And your blackness is something that they may find sexy or something like that.
Jungle fever.
Yeah, that stuff. So, so it's stuff like that sometimes annoys me, because I'm starting to feel like, yo, are you with me because you actually like my personality and who I am as a character? Or are you strictly with me because I'm black? Right? And it's a difficult conversation to have, because someone can have certain preferences, right? And then maybe they go off and they get to know someone off that. Like, for example, maybe she meets me and she primarily does like black men. And then she'll be like, okay, but he's actually cool. I want to pursue something with him. Or is it strictly like, okay, he's a black guy that looks exactly like what I'm looking for, and let me get with him, but he's easily replaceable, because I'm sure there's plenty of other black guys that are exactly the same. So it's been that, truth be told, and later on, once I started realizing and I may be talking to other women outside my race, that's a conversation that I'd like to have early on, to be perfectly honest, to kind of gauge where they at, trying to understand maybe their past dating history or something like that. Like, where are they with this? And then if it works out, it works out. If it's not, then bye. I mean, I had this one girl one time compare me to a Toblerone bar. Toblerone bar. I still have that text. I can send you. I'm not.
I mean, some of the things.
Yeah, man. So it's that type of stuff. Like, that stuff disgusts you. And I mean, I don't know, man. But again, I'm a third culture kid. So I wasn't really raised in a way that I needed to strictly go for one race, my own race or whatever. I just found beauty across all races, man. Plain and simple. So, and it's, I don't know, man. But you get certain experiences that kind of teach you to watch out for certain things, man. Especially in America as a black man. Think about it, man. In America as a black man, a lot of women have let me know straight up that a tall black man is probably the most desired male aesthetically in today's society.
Really?
In certain places anyway. I wouldn't say somewhere in like a rural area in Louisiana.
I gotta push back. Wait, hold on. I gotta push back before I give my point. The point you just made about, the tall black man is the most desired, man in America. Is it sexually or for a relationship?
Sexually.
then that's different.
Mhm.
You know, we talk about interracial.
But that's still
relationship.
dating. But that's still dating.
Yeah, it is. But it is. But you know,
That's
more
still
like
dating.
relationship and
That-
if the
but-
relationship
but
in the long
now-
run works.
Yeah,
you
but
know what I mean.
But now you're
So-
getting into a very interesting point, which I can develop later on, and I'm sure you want to get into.
Right. You know,
Because yeah, sexually, this is exactly what I want, right? But if I want to actually have a relationship, man, listen, I haven't had a crazy situation like that in the past, but I always tell this story about one of my homeboys in college. He ended up dating this girl that tried with 3 other dudes, including me, before she got to him. We all rejected her. She eventually got with him, and he made her his girlfriend. And then they were together for a couple months, and then her parents parents and her sister came to campus, and he was thinking that, you know, maybe he could get to know them, whatever, what have you. She said, no, I don't want that. And he started asking, like, what's going on? I don't smell nothing. Like, what's going on? She said, well, my dad has certain views, and he probably wouldn't like me being with you. But, you know, we're just doing our thing here in college. We're hanging out. He looked at her like, wait, what? And that's the thing that kind of goes crazy, because I think some of the expectations and the family pressure that some of these girls may have is that if in terms of an actual relationship, they need to get with the dude that, you know, is maybe their race, or let's just focus on white girls, for example. They need to get with a white dude, and that will be okay. But if they get with a black guy, he needs to be like, yo, investment analyst or something like that. Look perfect. The white dude, though, that they can get, he can look regular as hell, and it's all good. So the standards are different, man.
Black men.
Plain and simple.
Right. So to kind of, you know, piggyback on what he said, you know, in terms of my experience, I mean, we both, I think, moved to this country later on. I moved here when I was 18. I grew up, you know, in Europe. When you grew up in Europe, you know, where so your interest, so a lot of times your interest on based on, I think, where you were raised and what you saw. So yes, he pointed out that, yeah, even though you grew up in a household where you have sisters that are black, you have a mom that's black, you know, but you live in the Western world where it's mostly white women, and the idea of beauty is white women. A lot of us grow up, you know, with this standard of beauty that subconsciously is a white woman. So I think that's the reason why a lot of men don't necessarily know that as they get older, that's what they want to chase, you know. But as I moved to the United States, that's my personal experience. I've realized that, you know, I came across a lot of beautiful black women, and I realized that, oh man, like, I'm just as attracted. I mean, I was never like, oh my God, they're attractive or anything like that. But I was just like, yo, like, they're bad. You know, I was just like, yo, there's more things that I wasn't necessarily accustomed to. But I was just like, yo, I like different flavors. I like everything as well. I kind of felt the same, you know. But to answer the question specifically, I don't think there's anything wrong with interracial, you know. But if it's, I guess, done in good faith, and the reason why is based on what he said, because we both experienced that, where because we fit the stereotype, we didn't, because like my experience, we fit the stereotype, we never really realized that we're being carefully selected.
Yeah,
we're being
fetishized.
You know, exactly, just like, all right, he fit the, you know, tall, you know, educated, you know, and all that, blah, 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 blah. So you don't necessarily
Why
realize.
did you say educated? They're not thinking about that.
No, they do. No, yeah. Like
The stereotype?
You said it yourself. No, but I'm saying,
The stereotype
I'm
doesn't
talking about,
include educated.
hold on. I'm talking about relationship. I'm
Relationship, okay,
like you said, if you want to go to see her daddy, you know, whatever, you have to be tall, educated, whatever, you know. So that was my experience. Like, I was for it, but I realized, I am for it, but I realized a lot of people, the reason why they are in interracial relationship is because they can't necessarily get the men that they want, and they fall back on, you know what I mean? Like, they fall back on, like, they're not the most desired women within their own culture.
Yeah,
so they're just like, you know what, let me fall back on, you know, this black guy, because clearly out here a lot of people think
I've heard that a lot.
You know what I mean? That black men don't necessarily have standards, so it's just like, or, you know, they're going to find me attractive because they like plus, you know what I mean? They like a certain type of
plus size and all that kind of stuff. Let's get into that. Let's be real.
You know what I mean? They like all that kind of stuff. So that's what I realized, that I was just like, so like you said, it's just like, so you don't want like me for me. Like you don't value the fact that I have a different mind, like the way I think, the way it's more so based on the idea that you have in your head of who I should be. Because you hear a lot of stuff that's just like, oh, have you ever heard, man, you don't act like a black guy. Like, you don't act, I'm just
You
like,
talk white. You talk white. Yeah, 1000%.
What is that supposed to mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So yes, I'm for interracial dating, but it's more so for people that actually make the effort into knowing you as a person, but also indulging into your culture and making an effort to learning about your culture. That's where, yes, I'm for it. I think it could. I think it could work. It could be a beautiful thing if, again, both people make it an effort to learn about each other's culture and accept each other's culture. Because a lot of time what's happening, because we only push on one aspect of things. I think more the physical aspect, but also the relational aspect, where there are some challenges in where you might come from a different culture, you might come from a different religion, and that's where the issues might arise. Because again, when it's time to raising kids or actually settling, that's when you're really gonna have issues where, like, okay, he's Muslim and she's Catholic, and it's just like, shit, how are we gonna raise our kids? Or the views, just coming from two different religions or different views of life. So at first we like each other, but as things get serious, we start realizing that I don't really have the same life view that you do. But on the other side, if you find someone that accept your religion or accept your way of living without pushing their own, their own, that's when it gets beautiful, where the person can learn from the food that you eat to the music you listen to. They can help you travel. They help you. It can be a beautiful thing if it's done the right way. Unfortunately, a lot of times, what I came across to realize that he was not approached that way. Yeah. It was always some ulterior reason why that person chose you or chose somebody else. And it was just like, and when you find that out, you're just like, I don't know if I see myself, being with someone like that. So that's my take. That's what I would say about.
Listen, man, I got stories I can tell, but like you said, man, it has to be in good faith. It really has to be in good faith, because, man, that fetishizing stuff, man, it is creepy, bro. Yeah. It is very, very, very creepy. Yeah. And I don't look, bro. I understand that there's a lot of guys that may not care about that, man. Whatever it is, I'm getting that action, whatever. But at a certain point, it really, really gets creepy. Let me tell y'all this story, actually. Let me tell y'all this personal story, right? So this was a little while ago, but I was dating this white woman, and everything seemed cool. We used to have a lot of interesting conversation, all that kind of stuff. And I was thinking that, okay, maybe this is getting somewhere, I even had that talk, trying to get where her mind is at, et cetera, et cetera. I maybe ignored a red flag here and there, but we keep
trying to get it in.
But we kept talking. And then I noticed that something was a bit off, and she started, kind of like, not really responding to me as much or whatnot. Eventually, through a common friend, I found out that she was hooking up with some other dude, and whatever. That's, we're dating. We're not really in a relationship yet. That's fine. But eventually, through that common friend who was a girl and who kind of let me know what was in her mind and all that kind of stuff, and she said, I'm telling you because I actually think it's pretty disgusting. She let me know that she was starting to pull away from me because I didn't fit that stereotype, and that the dude that she was messing with was selling drugs, all that kind of stuff.
I mean, so it's got childhood trauma, man.
It's stuff like that kind of creeps you out, and it kind of makes you, and that's what it's so messed up, because when you get into new situations, you kind of want to start from zero. You kind of want to give everyone a fair shake, but it's very difficult to do that when you already have a past experience that is traumatic.
But it's not even just one; it's several. Because I believe that, like you said, you mentioned white girl, but I know that's why I'm always like, I've been here for a while. I've rarely seen white girl who's regular black dude. You know what I mean? Like, you see, like, you may have sex, but it's like, when it's relationship, it's usually, my man over the top, well-to-do,
wealthy, all kind of stuff, or has certain views.
Athlete, let's be real, athlete, and things of that nature, but you never see them with a regular dude. Yep. You know what I mean? And that's where it's just like, okay, you clearly are way more selective when it comes to black men when it comes to, to other men. I don't know about other culture, but I do know, at least with my women, that's how it is. So that's why, like, I want to say I'm into for interracial relationship, but there's a lot of work that needs to be done on both sides. You know, I think relationships are hard enough as it is if you guys come from the same culture, the same religion and background. But I think it depends. It all depends on your perspective and how you see life. You know, if you are, like you said, you're still a culture kid, so he's well
It's
traveled.
kind of easy. It's kind of easier for me
because you can relate to a lot of things. But other people that grew up within their own
in their own sphere,
in their own sphere,
for their whole life. Yeah.
There's a lot of things that they wouldn't necessarily know, they're not necessarily going to accept, and that's when you're going to have the issues. But if you're pretty open, and I do believe that we're seeing it more and more in bigger cities. So I'm saying, like, if you leave, I don't know, New York, DC, LA, people.
It's a melting pot.
It's a melting pot.
So people are closer to other people that may not necessarily look like.
Right. So you dare to move toward people that are more like-minded, people. So I think that's where you see a lot more interracial couple, and I know that in time we will see more and more of that. Because back in the days, of course, our parent generation, they didn't travel like that. They didn't any of this stuff. So I think it's just going to be very, very interesting to see, because we're starting to see it, man, in Europe, where, like you said, more and more people are just like, hey, I like, I don't necessarily like the people that, and there's again, it's totally fine, but just do it for the right reason and do it, approach it for the right reason and be able to kind of learn, be open to learn,
My only thing is just same standards across the board. Simple as that.
But that's not realistic.
It's not realistic, but still, man, like, try to treat me the same way that, try to treat me the same way that you would like some white guy or something like that, because, or it's not even just white, man. I remember I dated this Israeli girl, and she kind of had that same thing. So it's really all just about.
I mean, I've been told a lot of people have, like, if we're talking about interracial or we're talking about just black. I mean, I've heard a lot of stereotype when it comes to black men. I've heard they're not serious, they're cheaters. I ain't never knew black men were the only one cheating, by the way. Black men don't cheat. But,
get that on a t-shirt.
They're not serious, they don't take care of their kids. And I'm just like, yo, who, you know what I mean? Like, where does all these things come from? So
TV.
Exactly. So a lot of people, very, very much so. I remember my roommate in college, man. He told me, like, he could never date a black woman because his family told him that, he wouldn't accept her. And I'm just like, they wouldn't accept her. And I'm just like, yo, like, what if you meet, I was literally asking him, like, what if you meet someone that you genuinely find cool and you genuinely, like, she's laugh, she's attractive, and like, just like, that's never going to happen. And, yo, I used to find it so crazy. To me that you telling me that you cannot find someone from a different race attractive or interested in. And a lot of people in today's world are still like, yeah, I would rather be with my, and I'm like, I mean, no problem, but I feel like you're shutting a lot of doors, especially the older you get. It's just like,
that's a perspective that isn't really, and that's also something that, truth be told, can have problems later on in your relationship with, if you end up, like, let me give you an example, right? Another example. I've known a lot of people in this world, right? Yeah. And I remember I spoke to there was a coworker of mine who I had a very good relationship with. She was about 20 years older than me, but we talked a lot about everything, right? Not the one I told you about. She let me know certain things about, like, yo, I got married really, really young to this white guy. She's white. This white guy, I always found other races, attractive, and I kind of wanted to talk to them, kind of interact more. But because of how it was back then in my rural-ass town, it was impossible for me to really build those connections. So I married this white guy really, really young, and our relationship, we're still married to this day, but our relationship, truth be told, started to suffer at a certain point because I said, wow, I would have loved to connect with other people from other races, get to just actually, like, build those connections, not necessarily even just sexually. Sexually was eventually when I started talking to her a little bit more, she admitted that, yeah, I was interested in that too. But that can cause problems because if you don't allow yourself, I wouldn't say explore, but just to get to know more people and really interact in that fashion, later on in life, you can start to have some regrets. Resentment towards yourself, towards the environment that you're from, and that can cause problems with yourself and also the relationships you've already built. So, man, it's tough because it's a lot of inner work that needs to be done. It's a lot of conversations that maybe need to be had with your loved ones. But, man, it's And that's why, in a lot of ways, man, I'll be real. I kind of understand the people that prefer to just stick with their own race, because they won't have those kind of headaches. Plain and simple. And truth be told, even myself nowadays, man, like I'm not saying I'd rather, but I find it easier to just deal with black women. Plain simple.
Right. It's just because it's one of these things where at the end of the day, relationship was so hard. If you can make it easier on yourself, you know, in terms of like background, you know, culture, religion, and all that good stuff, then you're just like, you know what, let me just know with someone what I know, and we will work out. Because that's another side of, you know, I think a lot into relationships that we didn't touch on. It's just like sometimes people just don't have the patience or the will to just explain to you, like, because you come from a different race, I have to explain to you a joke that somebody else from my culture would understood. You know what I mean? It's just like there's just not even, you know,
and they may find something offensive. Like, they may find something they don't
like. The sense of humor or the culture is just like, it takes so much for me to explain this to you, whereas somebody else, you know, would have gotten my jokes, and he would have. Whereas with her, you might create a whole problem. It's like, why do you find this funny? She's like, well, because it's just funny, you know. So it's things like that where people just wanted you to get it. Like, let's say black and white. That's what we're talking about. And you talk about issues like racism or something that you've experienced. A lot of time people want you to just get it without you having to explain them. A black person, you wouldn't necessarily have to explain them because they face that. At least you would hope that they face that, you know. But somebody else, she may have a different perspective that will create more problems. So it is what it is. I also get it, you know. But at the same time, the way this world is moving, I think, is very unrealistic. We live in a melting pot, like you said. So people, I think, not going to move away. There are still a lot of people that go for people that come from the same culture or same race. But I also think that, you know, things have changed so much nowadays that a lot of people want to explore, man. So that's what I think.
And there are too many options. There's too many ways for you to explore, plain and simple, with these dating apps, dating websites, social media, all that kind of stuff.
We'll get to that.
So that's for another episode.
We're going to talk about it. You know, we're going to talk about
another segment. You know what I mean?
Another segment, exactly. But let us know what you think interracial dating. Are you for it? Are you not? What are your reasons why?
Swirl, as they call it. All right, man.
All right.